On, Donner and Blitzen. Now, Rudolph, now!
Merry Christmas to all!
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, everything that we are celebrating during the holiday season. Thanks for tuning in here to the show. We got a full, fun show planned for you here today. We've got some NFL recaps and previews to do with Jacob Camenker of USA Today. Also, Bill Bender of Sporting News. Simon Applebaum of the podcast tomorrow will be televised. We'll cover everything for you, and really some interesting times in the National Football League. We're going to have 2 games tomorrow during the day airing on Netflix. So hopefully it streams clean and we can watch it. We'll get into that a little bit later in the program and also recap everything in the world of college basketball and the NBA as well. Last night's Monday Night Football game was a complete dud. Not only did the Packers cover the 14 points, it's the first shutout in the NFL this season. 34-0, folks. 34-0. There was never any sense that the Saints were going to be able to score a point in this game. The Packers just ran over them early and often. Josh Jacobs with another big game. And, it was cold in Lambeau. It didn't make any difference how long they put Spencer Rattler in that freezer for, because it was just one of the bigger blowouts we've seen all season, and absolutely the biggest blowout we've seen in prime time. So what's to say after this game, except for we won and won big? Here's Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love.
In the right direction at the right time.
Yeah, I would say so. And what's really cool is you're getting contributions from a lot of different people. So I think that is usually the mark of a good team. You got to stay healthy and continue to build on what you've done. And, but I love the energy of our group. Our guys show up ready to work, willing to work every day. And we got to continue to push one another to be at our best, because this is the time when you need to be playing your best ball.
No, it's big time. That's something that obviously the goal is Super Bowl. So that's the first step right there, is making the playoffs. Obviously, this was a big time game to clinch that spot, and proud of the way we came out here and handled business. And so it's big time. Definitely. I think anytime you can put up that many points is a good way to go out on offense. But I still think there's a lot more points out there for us, a lot more big-time plays, and still just some stuff that we're not hitting on. But I think, there's a lot more out there, like I said.
All right, good for Jordan Love finding something to work on after winning 34-0. All right, good news for athletes who want to play an extra year after playing junior college football, very similar to Diego Pavia, who got an extra year of eligibility at the University of Vanderbilt. If you play in junior college for one of the years in your eligibility, the Division I Board of Directors have approved a new waiver that's going to grant an additional year of eligibility for transfer. So this opens up the door for a lot of kids who spent 1 year at JUCO. There's a brand new memo that came out as well from the NCAA stating that the Division I Board of Directors and Division I Council have authorized comprehensive eligibility review, and the intent is to create an eligibility framework that will be sustainable and withstand scrutiny. And the review's action has now modernized college sports. It includes all student athletes' eligibility in Division I, is advancing the discussion to the upcoming January governance. A lot of words, but that's the bottom line. You play in JUCO 1 year, doesn't count toward a year of eligibility. If you transfer, you get another. Meanwhile, Georgia's quarterback Carson Beck not going to play in the upcoming playoff game. It's been deemed that he is now out for the season. Beck had a checkered up and down year for the Georgia Bulldogs, and essentially his backup quarterback ended up replacing him in the previous game, although Beck came in late in the game to hand off the ball in Georgia's win. Carson Beck going to play, looks like somewhere else next season. Notre Dame star defensive lineman Riley Mills is out for the college football playoff with a knee injury. He had 7.5 sacks for the Fighting Irish this past year. The top transfer at tight end in the portal is Max Clare. He's going to be going to Ohio State, leaving Purdue. That's got to burn a little bit. In college football yesterday, in the Idaho Potato Bowl, very exciting finish, double overtime. Northern Illinois beats Fresno State, and UTSA were big favorites against Coastal Carolina, I guess for a reason. They win 44-15. Jeff Traylor, their head coach, happy with the outcome.
Really excited how my team went through a lot of adversity and how they just continue to get better after the start we had in the season, and really finished strong. Played some really good football the last 6 to 7 weeks, and happy for my seniors. You know, there's a lot of guys that choose to not play in these bowl games. It's not important. It's just never been the case at UTSA. Our kids have always just been fantastic about that stuff, and it's because of the seniors, their leadership, and it's a blessing to coach them, and really, really proud of how they finished. And I still stand by. They were a 10 or 11 win team. No different than our 11 and 12 win teams before. We were probably 4 plays away from hitting 11 this year, to be very honest with you. But we didn't, but we're grateful for where we are right now.
All right, for those of you unfamiliar with the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day schedule in both college and pro sports, it's very light and limited, but we do have every year one bowl game played on the eve of Christmas on the 24th. It's always the Hawaii Bowl, and usually Hawaii is in it, but they are not this year. This year, it is the University of South Florida. They're taking on San Jose State. This line opened up at USF +4. It has now gone down to USF +2.5, and it looks like the steam is all coming in toward the Bulls. By the way, the total in this one is 63.5. So maybe we'll get one fun game on Christmas Eve tonight. It's certainly possible. Tomorrow, of course, we got a ton of action, including the National Football League and the NBA, but quiet night tonight. All right, we'll see what's up with Christian Watson. He was hurt last night. The one blemish on the Packers game last night, 34-0. He injured his knee. We don't know how serious it is. We'll see. The Texans have claimed Deontay Johnson off waivers from the Ravens, with Tank Dell being out for the season. So we'll see if Johnson now finds his new home and some playing time. The Steelers tomorrow in the NFL, 2.5-point underdogs against the Chiefs. And the other game on Christmas Day is Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, 5.5-point home favorites on the road at the Houston Texans. Joel Embiid's season has not gone smoothly at all. 76ers did win yesterday. That's the good news. He's missed a lot of games. Yesterday he was ejected, 111-106 the final. Tyrese Maxey, the big story here, he had 32 points. The Celtics did not have Jason Tatum. They lose to the Magic, 108-104. The Cavaliers play and they win. This has been the story of the entire season. Final 124-113 as they beat the Utah Jazz. And the Knicks beat the Raptors at Madison Square Garden by a final of 129-125. Also ahead of tomorrow's games in the NBA, we got some other finals to go over. LeBron James, triple-double. He's the gift that keeps on giving the holiday season. 117 to 114, the Lakers lost in that game. The Nuggets easily handled the Suns, final 117 to 90. Nikola Jokic had 32 points and 7 assists. The Warriors lose another close one as they fall 111 to 105 to the Pacers, and Luka Doncic returns and scores 27 points as the Mavs crush the Blazers 132 to 108. That was the final there. In terms of our schedule here at SportsGrid, we got Pharrell Coast to Coast coming up a little bit later at 3 o'clock Eastern, and then that will do it for our night here at SportsGrid. We got some great programming for you coming, though, tomorrow, including me. I'll be with you from 1 o'clock Eastern to 4:30 Eastern, along with Joe Ranieri, as we have the first football game covered for you. Also, if you want to get the rest of our schedule or what's to come here in the new season in 2025 and the new year, just download the SportsGrid app. It's available for iOS and Android. If you take out your phone and just scan that QR code, you'll be taken care of. It's the SportsGrid app. It's completely free for iOS and Android. Some great golf information, too, coming your way in the new year as well. So make sure you catch that. All right, the point spreads have been updated for the college football playoff and some very big lines based off what we saw last week. In fact, there's a couple that we'll discuss coming up next. And we'll also review what happened in the first round of the college football playoff with Bill Bender. He joins us courtesy of Sporting News after the break. Don't go away.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Bill Bender is with us from Sporting News. We've got the next round of bowl games and college football playoffs coming very soon as Bill joins us here on the show. And Bill, it was, well, let's just say an anticlimactic start to the college football playoff. And very few of the games were compelling at all. The games were sort of over before they started. And I just, before we get into this, I just wonder from your perspective, do you think that this is going to warrant some sort of change? I know that's what a lot of people are saying. The only thing that I can, sort of think of here is it's great to have a really good regular season and get a home game. And I think that they rewarded teams for doing that. But I think that crushed the competitive aspect of it because it just didn't seem like the teams that had to go on the road were really ready to do so.
Yeah, and that's part of it. And I think we need to seed this properly. If we would have seeded the bracket by the rankings, your 8-9 matchup, for example, would have been Indiana versus Boise State. And that's probably a more compelling game than, although it was a bit of a surprise that Ohio State beat Tennessee the way that they did. But when the average margin of victory is 19.3 points per game, people are going to complain. People might tune out, although the ratings suggest otherwise with the primetime games at least. And then I think it set up a pretty good quarterfinal round. I tell you all the time, Craig, 5 or 6 teams can win the national championship on any given year. We have those 5 or 6 teams in this playoff field right now, so I'm not complaining too much.
Yeah, what's funny is I'm doing very well in this bowl pool where we pick all of the games. First time, Bill, in a long time I've ever, after watching the first 2 bowl games, switched picks to the home teams because I was just like, wow, like this trend is going one way. I think I'm taking the wrong teams with these underdogs. Normally I'm an underdog guy. And I did not switch off Indiana, so I took my L there against Notre Dame. I thought they would keep it a little bit close, but it wasn't close, really. 27-17. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. I mean, we talked about this last week on the show. I thought Notre Dame would win, and they did. I think they're at the end of the line now, though. I do think that they're going to lose into Georgia in the next game. But give them credit because I think, Bill, this was the one game where I don't think they would have covered had they not gotten that 98-yard touchdown right at the beginning of the game.
That was the game right there. That sequence turned the entire game. Curtis Rourke throws an interception to Xavier Watts at the goal line. Bang, Notre Dame 98-yard touchdown. And that really flipped any momentum the Indiana Hoosiers ever had, and they never retained. I thought Notre Dame's defense dominated the game. The thing the Irish have that goes in their favor is they have 3 running backs that average 6 yards per carry. Jadarian Price, Jeremiah Love, and Aeneas Williams was more active in the game plan there. And then you have a running quarterback in Riley Leonard on top of it. So they're going to present Georgia some issues. And if I'm Notre Dame, I'm ripping a few pages out of that Georgia Tech playbook that they used with Haynes King to try to give the Bulldogs some problems in the next round.
Yeah, if they can. Their defensive backfield for Notre Dame is excellent, too. I mean, those guys just seem like they're all over the ball. No one. I think they're going to have a lot of first-round picks coming from there. All right, so James Franklin, he basically put his doubters to rest, I think, no matter what happens the rest of the season. A very convincing win in their college football playoff game, a game, again, that wasn't close at all, and they move on to the next round, too. What did you make of their first game?
Well, they take care of business when they're a favorite. We should know this by now. For all the narratives about James Franklin in the big game, 33-1 straight up as a favorite the last 3 years. The only loss was the Peach Bowl, where guys were missing on both sides. 24-9-1 against the spread as a favorite in the last 3 years. And as long as it's not Ohio State or Michigan, they're probably going to win the game. And they've done that. And I think that creates an interesting narrative for their next game where Boise State will wear the Cinderella hat in blue. And if Ashton Jeanty can't get going, Penn State could dominate this game too. They're 7-0 all time at the Fiesta Bowl. They have a history in that game as well. And that defense was pretty dominant. And if you're getting 6 yards per carry out of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, they're going to roar into the semifinals, no doubt.
Yes, it seems like Penn State's got a nice draw here for their next round too. All right, so the University of Texas, they take on Clemson, and I know the final score was 38-24, but it felt like Texas took their foot off the pedal in like the third quarter. And then they got a little scared. Clemson started coming back a little bit, but 38-24 the final there. Ewers did just enough. I know they did it all season long, Bill, but they keep sprinkling in Arch Manning there on those short rushing attempts, and it's really, it reminds me a little bit of Tebow and Leak when Tebow was at Florida too. The Texas just running the ball like crazy. And, Clemson, their season was very fortunate. They were very fortunate to be in the spot that they were. So can't really do much complaining. I will say this. I am stunned. Did they play Arizona State next? Is that the game that they play next?
Yes.
I'm stunned that that's 14. I really am. I mean, Arizona State's playing fantastic. I got to say, I don't know if they're going to win the game, but I'm going to take the point of that one.
Yeah, in Texas, the 2 running backs going over 100 yards, but their defense is good. And that's what I want to see. Will that be a matchup problem for Arizona State? They had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 8 pass breakups against Clemson. They're very active. They've got NFL guys. Anthony Hill Jr. is amazing. So that will be the big thing with the Arizona State game, whether or not the Sun Devils keep it close. I'm a little worried they got to travel all the way to the Peach Bowl. But there's a reason why Texas is the betting favorite right now to win it all. They've got a very good team and a very negotiable path.
Yeah, I do think ASU is the hottest team in the country. Bye week, so to speak. I'm going to take those points. All right, Ohio State did nothing to hurt Ryan Day's claim that one game shouldn't mean anything. And I think no matter what happens, I think Ryan Day will be back now as Ohio State's head coach. They win their playoff game 42-17 over the University of Tennessee. This was the stunner, not that OSU won, but it just wasn't close at all.
Right, and it turns out throwing the ball down the field to Jeremiah Smith works, and it worked in this game. Will Howard was 4 of 5, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns on passes of 20 yards or more. That really set the tone with the first quarter. Didn't help Tennessee that Dylan Sampson got hurt early in the game. I thought Nico Iamaleava battled, ran the ball a lot, and there was a moment there at halftime where I thought it might be a game again. But give credit to the Buckeyes. We always talk about home run swings. Theirs is pretty good. I don't know if they should be favored against Oregon. That feels like a toss-up game, but we've got a week to talk about it. What a classic that will be.
Yeah, definitely going to be fun. And you're right, Jeremiah Smith. Where was he during the Michigan game? I don't understand. Anyway, great to see you, Bill. Have a good weekend. Appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Hey, happy holidays, Craig. Thanks for having me.
All right, Bill Bender with us. Coming up next, we'll get a further preview of that Sugar Bowl with Ben Stevens. Don't go away.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Happy holidays. For those of you wondering, streaming our show, we are live here. We are live here. This is not a taped show. I don't know how I could prove. Is there any way to prove that right now? I don't know, Frank. I don't know. But anyway. Oh, is there? Where's that at? Is that right there? Did I get it? Right there? We're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Not a taped show. Maybe some others are, but this is not one. All right, let's get a preview of the big game between Georgia and Notre Dame, and we'll hear from the coaches involved. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, I just looked at our schedule for next week. On the 1st, we are not here because we are going to be doing a full college football preview show on the first day of the new year. So let's get things started with one of the hosts of that show, Ben Stevens. He's got a preview of Georgia and Notre Dame facing off in the Sugar Bowl.
The Sugar Bowl, the nightcap on New Year's Day in our college football playoff triple header to kick off a new year. It's Notre Dame and Georgia. Georgia opened as a very slight favorite, line already working even more to the dogs, a 2.5-point spread. Georgia has 4 ranked wins this year against 4 teams that also reached the 12-team college football playoff, and in all 4 victories outright, Georgia also covered. But the biggest question, the remainder of the way of the CFP, UGA's new starting quarterback, Gunnar Stockton. What will he do against a Notre Dame defense that is top 3 in the country in scoring and defending the pass? Notre Dame only an underdog 6 total times with Marcus Freeman, but they've won outright 3 times, including in the season opener against Texas A&M. The Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. Craig Mish, back to you.
I'm trying to think of my favorite Sugar Bowl that I've attended. I've been to a few. I'm going to guess my favorite one was Florida beating Florida State, my alma mater, after I had graduated from there. I want to say it was 1996. Gators and Seminoles. Gators win. I was on the field at the end of that game. Fun. All right, now let's hear from Kirby Smart. He's got a preview of that Sugar Bowl as well. He's already faced off against Notre Dame in a number of different fashions, but says this one's a little bit different.
It's the 3rd time you faced Notre Dame at Georgia. What stands out about this team in particular? What differences and similarities do you see from the teams you played in the past?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I don't really remember the other ones. You know, I don't remember them as a team. The games obviously stand out. Both one score, fourth quarter, really physical games. You know, the physicality I see when I watch Notre Dame play is pretty incredible on both lines of scrimmage. The way they play, the style of play they have. So, I mean, comparing those teams is hard for me because there's so many years in between. But this is a really good, solid, fundamentally sound, don't beat themselves, you know, play good defense, great defense, and really physical in the lines of scrimmage, and they got a really athletic quarterback. So there's a reason why they're at the point in the season they're at.
Yeah, I think right now it's going to be the matchup of the day on the 1st, I would guess. Meanwhile, the Fighting Irish now have to deal with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback as Carson Beck is out for the season. Here's Marcus Freeman on the quarterback change that he has to now deal with.
Obviously, schematically, what they've done all season, you know, and then you have a separate tape of what, you know, Stockton, the new quarterback, has done. You know, I think we have 80-something plays of him playing quarterback. You know, he can run their offense. You know, he does some things a little bit differently. He's got, you know, he can extend plays with his legs. He's a good athlete. The thing I probably noticed more than anything in watching those 80 plays is he's an ultra competitive individual. You can just tell, you know, by the way he celebrates, by the way, you know, he goes and finishes plays. He's a competitor. I don't see it being tremendously different than what they've done all season, but we'll prepare for anything. They've been preparing every single day all season long, and that's why every rep you do in practice matters and is evaluated, because you don't know when that rep is going to be thrust against Georgia, right? And so you have to prepare in a way in practice that you're, 1, improving, but 2, you're ready if your number's called. And we got a lot of guys that prepare that way, and that will have a bigger role. But obviously, you know, Donnie's played at a high level, Gabe Rubio's playing at a high level, and Howard's obviously back. So we'll get whoever that 4th and 5th guy ready to roll. But they've been preparing for this moment all season. It's not something that you just do right now.
One of many great games coming up in the next round of the college football playoffs. Last night was not a great game, but we have some fun games coming up tomorrow. Jacob Camenker from USA Today previews them next.
there's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Happy holidays to everyone watching, and let's recap a Monday Night Football game for the ages. If by ages meaning you aged watching this game. Saints and Packers. Jacob Camenker is with us from USA Today to recap. Jacob, this game was, the worst Monday night game of the year. I think that's fair. Only shutout of the year. And is there anything left to say? This was basically like one major league team against a minor league team in baseball. That's what it looked like to me.
Pretty much. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I mean, the Saints were without their top quarterback, their top running back, their top two receivers, and their top tight end. They lost their best center during the game. They lost another lineman during the game, and Lucas Patrick. So they were just depleted. The Packers are a clear-cut Super Bowl contender this year, so this was always a mismatch on paper. Just everything possible was going against the Saints. The one thing you were watching in this game was, hey, how does Spencer Rattler look? How does Kendre Miller look? Do these guys look like future role players? And, you know, Spencer Rattler had a really nice throw at one point in the game, and he immediately followed that up with a pretty bad interception. And I think that's kind of a microcosm of what the game was. We all were looking for those exciting big plays, something to get us kind of amped up and be like, oh, this was all this was worth it just to at least see a few big plays. But, yeah, I think you're right. That was definitely the worst Monday night game of the year, and just a horrible mismatch. And congrats to the Packers for clinching, but I don't think we could take a whole lot out of that game, you know?
No. Again, no college team is ever going to beat a pro team. I'm not going to go that far, but New Orleans, it was very up against it yesterday. So the Packers can't win the division, and the Bears obviously can't. They can get the number one pick if like a million things go right. But Detroit right now is plus 240 on the FanDuel Sportsbook, and Minnesota is plus 240 as well. I'm sorry, Detroit's minus 300. I read that wrong. Plus 240 is Minnesota. Any reason to take the Vikings to win the division, or do we just say it's the Lions and move forward?
I think you can justify going with the Vikings just because the Lions are pretty banged up right now. And look, Dan Campbell's a great coach. So is Aaron Glenn. So is Ben Johnson. So they're going to get the most out of what they have on that team. But they still have a tough finish to the season playing the 49ers, who I know are out of playoff contention, but still have some good pieces. And then they have to, I believe, travel to Minnesota in Week 18. And if the Lions lose that game against Minnesota, then that would give Minnesota, I think, the advantage. Granted, the Vikings, I think, have to beat the Packers to keep pace with the Lions this week. So there's a lot of moving parts there. but I could envision the possibility of the Vikings winning the division. I don't know that I'm overly confident in it, though, because I think the Packers are going to be pretty amped up to try to beat them this week. And I don't think the Vikings are going to overlook the Packers by any means, but it just feels like the Vikings are going to trip up at some point. And if you're Kevin O'Connell, you'd rather have that be in week 17 than in the playoffs. So I would back the Lions here, but I don't think it's a slam dunk that they win it just because the Vikings are healthier, well coached, and it's going to be a tough finish to the season for both teams. I think we're going to see a really good test of both of their Super Bowl potentials.
Yeah, Vikings are a stunning team, but they're there. We got to start giving them some credit. Okay, so tomorrow afternoon, Jacob, on Christmas Day and Hanukkah for me as well, that night, I am going to be hosting here on SportsGrid during the first game of the day. It's the Chiefs and Steelers. It's an annual tradition for me here at SportsGrid, but the tradition to me is a little bit worrisome. For those, Jacob, that can't see me hosting the show, I have a really big TV in front of me. And it has all the information that I discuss here on NewsWire. My producer, Frank, he puts it in there. It's very easy for me to see. I don't have a prompter, but I have the TV. Now, tomorrow, I don't need it because I just have the one game that we're going to be talking about and maybe some NBA. But my concern is, and I have Netflix, obviously, am I going to be able to watch this game and talk about it, Jacob, tomorrow? Long story short, I'm a little worried about a little buffering. I'm hoping that I get to see it and I get to talk about it with all of you, but I can't guarantee that at this point based on the way that fight went down.
Yeah, those buffering issues are going to be high on the list of what everyone watching the games is worried about. I mean, Netflix, they were hopefully using that as a way to kind of work out the kinks for this NFL game. But yeah, that Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, I mean, people were not able to watch that live. So this is going to be a huge test for them. If they cannot get these NFL games right, there's going to be a lot of backlash, a lot of angry people trying to watch the games. So one would think that they have learned their lessons from that live buffering issue in that fight. But we've also seen this several other times. I know this isn't sports related, but one of my coworkers was saying the same thing happened with the Love is Blind live reunion they did once. It took like 2 hours to get it all started up. So there's always going to be that potential for issues. So hopefully, knock on wood, everything works out, but I'm going to be interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, I am. That is my only concern tomorrow. Everything else is fine with me. If not, I'll just throw an NBA game on it. I'll put it on my big screen here. So real quick, Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites against Pittsburgh, and the Ravens are 5.5-point favorites against Houston. Total 44.5 in the first one, 46.5 in the second one. Give me the outcomes of these games, Jacob.
Yeah, I'll start with the game that I think is probably more likely to be a win for the Ravens. I think that they have the edge on the Texans. Houston isn't really playing for a whole lot. There's an outside chance that they could get the number 3 seed in the AFC, but I think with everything that happened in their last game where they lost Tank Dell, I think they're going to be a little emotionally flat in this game, with this not meaning a whole lot for them. So I think the Ravens come out knowing that they can take control of the division if they win, especially if the Steelers lose to the Chiefs. So I like the Ravens here to cover that spread. I just think they're the better team, and the Texans have some holes against the pass, and their offense, missing 2 top receivers is going to be difficult, and Deontay Johnson's not going to be ready to contribute after being claimed a couple days ago. Very interested to see how that pans out, though, because that's his third different team this season, 4th in the last calendar year. I have no idea what to expect there. Chiefs Steelers, I think, might end up being closer. The Steelers were obviously beaten by the Ravens last week, and it wasn't pretty, but it was closer late than people realized. Russell Wilson had a back-breaking pick 6, and that could definitely happen against this good Chiefs defense. But the Steelers had George Pickens out last game. It sounds like he's going to be back for this one. They're missing a couple defensive pieces, including Deshaun Elliott. So I think the Steelers have a decent shot at keeping this one close, but I probably wouldn't bet on that because we're not getting that key number of 3. If it was a field goal game and you're getting a field goal underdog, I would like it, but we're not quite there. And I think the Chiefs have a lot to play for with that 1 seed. So I'm probably going to sit that one out and just bet on the Ravens, and that'll be my Christmas plan, I think.
All right, well, we'll follow that on social media with Jacob. Also, there's a Thursday night game in the National Football League. It is the Seahawks and Bears. What am I missing on this one is what I would like to know. When this line came out, it opened at 3. It's now 3.5. So the money is coming in on Seattle, which seems to me to be the right side here with a total of 43.5. Jacob, the Bears have looked so bad. The other day, my son is like, wait a second, the Bears are 4-11, Dad? How did that happen? What did I miss? Weren't they like 4-4? I'm like, I think so. The Bears are playing awful, but I guess Seattle's just not that good, Jacob. I must be missing something here. The Bears must be the right side. I have to be missing something on this one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to back Seattle in this game, and I think they're the team with way more to play for, obviously, because they need to win to stay in that division race hunt with the Rams. But I think the issue you look at is Geno Smith makes up for a lot of issues that Seattle has on that offensive line. So I don't know if the sports books think that the Bears will be able to get good pressure with Montez Sweat and just kind of rattle Geno Smith, who's not fully healthy with that knee injury. So I guess that would be the case for the Bears kind of coming in and being able to make that one close. But I don't know. I just think Seattle's the better team. They have more offensive weapons. Their defense is pretty well coached. And the Bears just don't have anything to play for. So I'm going to back Seattle, but I don't feel great about it because that line doesn't look right to me. Agree with you there.
It does not. It does not. With one team to play for and the other team that can't get out of their own way. Jacob, happy holidays to you and your family. We'll see you again next week.
All right. Thanks, Craig. Happy holidays.
All right. Jacob Camenker, great job for USA Today. He's been picking well this season, too, if you follow him. Simon Applebaum will join us next.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back with you here on the Christmas Eve holiday and recapping everything that's happening in the world of sports. I know it's usually a light schedule in sports. I'll give you a preview of the one game that there is tonight. By the way, there is one in college football. I'll have that for you in a second. National Football League has generally not done a lot this time of the year, but folks, how about this before we get into it? They had a Monday night game last night. There are 2 games on Wednesday. There is 1 game on Thursday. There are 3 games on Saturday, and then the full slate on Sunday. So those of you who are big football fans, you have your work cut out for you to be able to watch all. How am I going to be able to watch all these games with the holidays? I have no idea, but I will try. Now, the good news is last night's game, I turned it on and saw 7-0 and then saw 14-0. And then I said, I'll lean on my producer, Frank, for what happens from here on out. And I didn't miss anything. 34-0 was the final yesterday between the Green Bay Packers and New Orleans Saints, an absolute blowout. And by the way, I was shocked to hear that this was the first shutout of the National Football League season in 2024. I did not know that. But the final was 34-0 again yesterday. And needless to say, it was a great game for Josh Jacobs and company as they easily get the win. And now the Packers are in line, not just for the playoffs, but maybe even potentially to get a higher seed. It's going to be really hard for them to beat out both Detroit and Minnesota because they still trail them. But they can get a higher seed by winning. They're likely the 3 seed in the NFC. Carson Beck, the quarterback for the University of Georgia, he is now out for the season. He is not going to play in Georgia's upcoming college football bowl game in the Sugar Bowl. So Carson Beck is out, and he is not going to play because of the injury that he suffered in the last round of the college football playoffs. As far as the transfer portal is concerned, we got some news there and some updates as Notre Dame is right now dealing with some injury issues. 2 big stories in the world of college. Their star defensive lineman, and his name is Riley Mills. He's out of the college football playoffs with a knee injury. He had 7.5 sacks this past season. Max Clare is who I was referring to before. I don't know if you saw him play. Really good player. And he's going into the transfer portal, leaving Purdue. He's a redshirt sophomore. He has 2 years of eligibility remaining, and he is now headed to Ohio State University. In the college football bowl games last night, we had a double overtime game between Northern Illinois and Fresno State. The final was 28-20, and also UTSA ended up being a 12.5-point favorite against Coastal Carolina, although the line opened up initially at 8. 44-15 the final in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Jeff Traylor is the head coach of UTSA and was really happy to see a lot of the players not leave his school and actually play and win their bowl game.
Really excited how my team went through a lot of adversity and how they just continue to get better after the start we had in the season and really finished strong. Played some really good football the last 6 to 7 weeks, and happy for my seniors. You know, there's a lot of guys that choose to not play in these bowl games. It's not important. It's just never been the case at UTSA. Our kids have always just been fantastic about that stuff. And it's because of the seniors, their leadership, and it's a blessing to coach them. And really, really proud of how they finished. And I still stand by. They were a 10 or 11 win team. No different than our 11 and 12 win teams before. We were probably 4 plays away from hitting 11 this year, to be very honest with you. But we didn't. But we're grateful for where we are right now.
Yeah, big win for UTSA yesterday. You don't get to play in a bowl game of this magnitude or a school like that and end up winning. It was a great job by them. All right, so on the schedule tonight in football, there's 1 game. That's it. You get no more. I think they're going to be playing Christmas Eve next year. I don't know. Something tells me that they're going to be playing games next year on Christmas Eve. But South Florida tonight, the Bulls take on San Jose State. And they play in the Hawaii Bowl. And this should be a fun game because both teams are like average on defense. And the total is 63.5. So this should be a fun one. Hawaii Bowl tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. In the Monday Night Football game last night, everything was not perfect for the Packers. Christian Watson was injured in their game yesterday. And who knows how long he'll be out, if any. But we'll get updates on that throughout the day. Deontay Johnson has signed a new contract with the Baltimore Ravens. He signed with the Texans after leaving the Ravens, thrown off here a little bit today. And then the Steelers tomorrow are 2.5-point home underdogs against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are 5.5-point favorites on the road in Houston. In the National Basketball Association, Joel Embiid ejected from the game yesterday. The Sixers have not had a great season, but they did get the win over Wemby and the Spurs yesterday. The final was 111-106. Tyrese Maxey had 32 points in the game, but Embiid was the story. Jenna Schroeder threw him out with 2 minutes and 59 seconds left in the second quarter, and you could see there Embiid was not happy. The Celtics, without Jason Tatum, They fall to the Magic by a final of 108-104. Cleveland improves to 26-4 on the season with a 124-113 win over the Utah Jazz. And the New York Knicks easily handle the Raptors at Madison Square Garden, final 139-125. Other finals from the NBA yesterday. LeBron James has a triple-double. The Pistons beat the Lakers 117-114. The Nuggets easily handled the Suns 117-90. The Warriors continue to struggle in close games. They lose 111-105 to the Indiana Pacers. And Luka returns and scores 27 points for the Dallas Mavericks as they crush the Blazers 132-108. For those of you interested in more information about SportsGrid, you can download the SportsGrid app. Take out your phone. Here it is. Here's mine right here. I already have it, so you don't need me to download it, but you guys can download the SportsGrid app. It's available for both iOS and Android, and also will keep you updated on the point spreads and also give you the inside edge to winning bets here at sportsgrid.com. Got some great content coming for you here in 2025 too as well. So make sure you download that SportsGrid app and keep it locked right here to SportsGrid. We've got the last licks portion of the program coming up next, and I'm glad we do. It's time to take a quick break here on the show. We got a commercial timeout, and then plenty more to come before we sign off here for the day on NewsWire. Remember, no show tomorrow, no NewsWire show tomorrow. I'm back with you Christmas Day, though, from 1 to 4:30 Eastern for that game between the Chiefs and Steelers. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we got 5 minutes left in the show. We're bringing in Simon Applebaum of the podcast. Tomorrow will be televised. Simon, Netflix making some big news. They got NFL games tomorrow, and they got World Cup in the future. Tell us more.
Yes, we do, Craig. And by the way, from all of us here at the Renaissance Hotel, happy Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and everybody. Yes, nobody this development that broke late last week, which was Netflix getting the next two Women's World Cup soccer tournaments. And Netflix is trying to make two statements here. Number one, if we're going to go for live sports events, we're going to go for events that have global reach and global acceptance. And number two, they want women's sports. They want to be part of the women's sports movement. This is a way to do it. And if you're Telemundo as well as Fox, you're not feeling too happy because in this deal, Netflix gets both the English language and the Spanish language rights. So they're going to take over from Telemundo, which may have a now rift in their relationship with FIFA, the World Soccer body. Also, Netflix gets sports documentaries to do, so they're going to make a big deal out of this. Huge deal for Netflix.
All right, now, the college football playoff just recapped its first full weekend of this 12-team playoff, Simon, and the results are in, and they are very poor. The ratings got crushed by the National Football League, especially that SMU-Penn State game in Clemson, Texas. I mean, Simon, college football expected more. I think the results and the blowouts probably had something to do with it, but the NFL doubled some of these games.
Both of them, Craig, both the blowouts, particularly in Saturday afternoon games that were carried on TBS, TNT, True TV, and Max. Both of them were under 10 million homes, by the way, compared to what was done on ABC and ESPN, where the Tennessee-Ohio State game had 14 million games, 13 million for the Indiana-Notre Dame game the night before. The thing is, you had those NFL games, including the Madden NFL cast, the alternative telecast was on Peacock. So you had a real blowout, and you had two, and unlike the college football playoff games, which were blowouts all the way, you had two very competitive NFL games, and I think that made the trick in terms of the viewership.
Yeah, and I wonder moving forward if college football is able to figure out a way to not go head-to-head against the NFL. Maybe that would change things as well. All right, your podcast tomorrow will be televised, a new edition coming out tomorrow. And I know, Simon, with the year coming to an end, you always have some great insights on a year-ender type podcast. Top 5 developments for TV and streaming of 2024. I know we have a graphic that's going to show all these, Simon, but take me through them one by 5 by one.
Number 5, women's sports TV really busted open. You had the WNBA, women's college basketball, professional women's hockey league, and so forth. And the big thing about it was these games were scheduled at times when people could see them, whether you saw them on Amazon, whether you saw them on ION, with CBS, NBC, ESPN, etc. 4, regional sports networks. Bally Sports came out of bankruptcy. They became FanDuel Sports, but still there were issues in terms of individual teams, baseball teams, hockey teams, basketball teams, forming their own regional sports or local sports efforts with television stations as well as smart TV sets and devices. Number 3, Peacock. The Summer Olympics that they did, it's now the way you watch the Summer or the Winter Olympic Games because of Gold Zone, multi-view, interactivity, and so forth. Number 2, the whole alternative event telecast spree. It started with the Super Bowl with Nickelodeon and Univision Spanish language coverage of the Super Bowl. And then you had all these animated shows. You had the Pat McAfee, Manning type cast. You also had the mega cast and so much more. Number 2, the alternative event telecast spree. That really is huge. You know, as I said, with things like the Nickelodeon NFL telecast, the Super Bowl. And of course, we've got the NFL cast that just came out last week. So you're going to see more and more of these alternative telecasts. And number 1, the mega content sports TV, sports galore. Every mega content service, whether it's Prime Video, Max, Paramount Plus, Peacock, they are now sports hubs. And it's one of the reasons why you're seeing more and more subscribers get in with these services. And now Netflix, with the starting with the NFL games tomorrow, they could be the next one to become a major sports hub.
So, Simon, we're going to be able to watch these games tomorrow? What do you think?
I think so. I think if the transmission, which was the problem with the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight, is fixed up, I think these games, if they're very close, they certainly have the teams. You got Beyonce at halftime of the second game, CBS Sports production values with Ian Eagle calling the play-by-play first game, and Noah Eagle the second game. I think that Netflix could have a monster of a day tomorrow.
Well, hopefully there are no streaming issues, Simon. As I mentioned, that's my fear. Happy holidays to you and your family, Simon. We'll see you back here next week.
Absolutely. Take care. Again, very happy holidays to all.
All right, Simon Applebaum. We got it in. Podcast tomorrow will be televised. How about that? All right, thanks to our guest, Simon, and of course, thanks to Bill Bender and Jacob Camenker. Those were our guests here today. And again, they're taking their time out of their holiday time to join us here on the show. So I want to thank them. Also, thank Rob for filling in today for Luke. Thanks again to Frank, who's producing our show once again today, and he'll be on the producing controls for Pharrell. I'm Craig Mish. I wish all of you a very happy holidays, whatever you are celebrating today with your family. I look forward to seeing you for our next edition of NewsWire on Thursday, if I'm not going to see you tomorrow on Christmas Day. Have a great one, everyone.